Swayam Prabha. Digital India. Educated India.
Namaskaram. In this lesson, let us learn how to render the Aditala Varnam in Tisram Gati. In South Indian music, we have the concept of Gati, which is actually alternatively used as nadai, and scholars believe that Gati is the term, Sanskrit term used for the Tamil term nadai. So they are used synonymously, and some people believe that Gati is different, nadai is different, but I am taking the Gati and nadai to be synonyms. That is Gati as Sanskrit term and nadai as the Tamil term. In the South Indian music, while learning the alankaras, we have come up with the concept of the jati, that is the saptatalas. In the saptatalas, what are the saptatalas? Can you tell the saptatalas?
It is Dhruva, Matya, Atta, Rupaka, Triputa, then
Jampa
and Ekatala.
Of these, Dhruvatalam, Matyatalam, Rupakatalam, Ekatalam, all these four are Chatusra Jati. And when we say Jampa, we also say it as Mishra Jampa. And with regard to Atatala, Kanda Jati Atatala. So there is a difference in the reckoning as well as the count of these talams. Then we have to understand what is jati. Even though we have done it as part of alankaras in the initial time of learning itself, just a quick recap of what is jati. Jati is a variation seen only with regard to the lagu. That is, lagu is one beat and finger counts. So we have the concept of Tisram, Chatusram, Kandam, Mishram and Sankirnam in South Indian music. Tisram is 3, Chatusram is 4, Kandam is 5, Mishram is 7, Sankirnam is 9. So in Tisra Jati, if I say Tisra Jati lagu, then it is 1, 2 and 3. And if it is Chatusra Jati lagu, then 1, 2, 3, 4. And if it is Kanda?
1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
And with Mishram?
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7.
Yeah, we have to count the index finger and the little finger twice. The index finger is also added, and the little finger is again repeated after the index finger. So 1, 2, not the index finger, it is the thumb. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. For 7 we are repeating the little finger. So for Sankirnam, we have to repeat all these 3 twice. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So this is with regard to Jati. So in Jati, there is no change in the difference, there is no difference in the space between each akshara. That is 1, 2, 3, 4. And in the fast speed it is 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. What we do, for example, if we render the Chatusra Jadi Ekathala Alankara in 3 speeds. What we do? Sa ri ga ma ri ga ma pa ga ma pa da ma pa da ni sa ni da pa ma da pa ma ga pa ma ga ri sa. So sa ri ga ma. We have to understand this sarigama on the basis of sarigama, rigama, pagama, padama, padani. So, the underlying syllables per beat is 4. But when you say the gati or nadai, this 4, that is the internal distribution of the syllable changes. In Jati, only the count changes, but the underlying syllables remain same. Sa ri ga ma pa ga ma pa da ni sa ni da pa ma ga pa ma ga ri sa. But if I say it is Tisragati, then instead of taka dimi, it goes as takitta. Syllable per beat itself changes in Gati, whereas the count of the Tala changes in Jati. So, from Saptatalas, with the result of Jati variation, that is 5 Jatis, so 7 into 5, we get 35 Talas. And when you divide it again by 5, that is you are giving the variation of Gati, then the concept of 175 Talas arises. But here in Varnam, what is the rule for rendering it in Tisram or Kandam or Mishram? For example, if we take up Tisram, in Alankaram the base is 1 per beat, but in Varnam, in the previous lessons we saw that the basic speed is 4 per beat. So when you start the Tisram, it cannot be slower than the basic speed. So when the basic speed is 4 per beat, then the Tisram becomes 6 per beat. It can't be 3, it can't be lesser. So when we have to render it, so the first speed is sa ri ga ri ga ri sa ri sa ni da ga ri sa ni da. This is 1 2 3 4 1 2 3 4 1 2 3 4 1 2 3 4 1 2 3 4 1 2 3 4 2 3 1. If you render it in 2 kalai, then it is 1 2 1 2 1 2 1 2. So that 1 2 becomes 1 2 3. So 1 2 3 1 2 3 1 2 3 1 2 3 1 2 3 1 2 3 1 2 3 1 2 3 1 2 3 1 2 3 1 2 3 1 2 3 1 2 3 1 2 3 1 2 3 1 2. So what are the benefits of rendering it in other nadais? That is, you get a command when you change the, because the Varnam is set as 4 per beat. So we are altering the 4 per beat as 6 per beat. So the carvai of the Varnam does not change, whereas the distribution of the carvais change. For example, sa ri ga ri all are Chatusra carvais. But when you render it in Tisram, sa ri ga ri sa ri sa ni da ri sa ni da. So the distribution of carvais differs. So for that you need lot of concentration. And when you concentrate on the distribution, and we have to figure out, because instead of 4, when you render 4 per beat, how much is that for one avartam of Aditalam for 8 counts? It is 32. So when you render it by 6, then it will be over in the 6th aksharam itself. Mid of the 6th aksharam it will be over. So we have to continue it. And the rule is the talam and the melody should end together. So there are 2 more factors have to be taken into consideration. For example, in Chatusram, in the setup of the structure of the Varnam is 2 avartams of Pallavi and then 2 avartams of Anupallavi and then 4 avartams of Mukta Iswara. So, when it is 4 per beat and you change it to 6 per beat, it will not end according to the talam. Either there will be a spillover or there will be a deficit, because when 4 is divided, where 4 and 6 meets, it meets only at 24. So we have to render the Tisram. Tisram should be in terms of 3. So you have, how many avartams we have? Pallavi 2 lines, Anupallavi 2 lines and Mukta Iswaram 4 lines. It is only 8. When you render it, 3 avartams of melody will end in 2 avartams. Let us see that first, and then what we are going to do to make the talam and the melody end together, we will see after that. So for the sake of convenience, we are going to render the swaram first and then the sahityam. Now the last line of Mukta Iswaram is rendered, and then we will shift the Pallavi to Tisram. Da ga ri sa ni da sa ni da pa ma ga ri sa ga ri sa ni da pa ma ga ri sa da sa ri ga ri ri sa ri sa ni da ga ri sa ni da. Now if you observe that it is rendering after 2 in the 6th akshara. Gari sa ni da. That is 32. When you divide it by 6, it comes as 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2. So again we are going to start the second line from 2 after. Gari sa ni da sa ri pa ma gari sa da ma gari sa da sa ri. Now you can observe that 1.5 lines we are rendering it in 1 avartam. Sa ri pa ma gari sa da ma gari sa da sa ri. Till that, when you render it in Tisram, till that we are going to render it in 1 avartam. Okay, shall we start from the beginning? Sati gari gari ri sa ni da gari sa ni da sa ri pa ma gari sa da ma gari sa da sa ri.
Sari gari ri sa ni da gari sa ni da sari pa ma gari sa da ma gari sa da sari ma pa da ri sa ma pa da ni da ma gari sa da pa ma pa da ri ma pa da ma gari sa ri sa ni da ni da pa ma pa da sa pa da sa ri re gari sa ni da pa da ma gari sa
ni da sa ri gari sa gari sa ni da pa da ri sa gari ga sa ri ma pa da pa ma ri ma pa da sa ri sa pa ma da pa ni da ni pa da ma pa sa ri ma pa da ni da pa ma pa sa ni da pa da ri sa ni da pa ma da pa ni da pa da sa ri gari
da re sa ni da pa ma ga re sa da.
Now it is ending here. So we are short of one line. What we can do is, either we can repeat the first line of the Pallavi or first line of the Anupallavi and or the first line of Chittaswaram, but not the last line of Muktaiswaram, because it will be obvious that we are adjusting it. For example, da ga re sa ni da da sa ni da pa ma ga re sa ga re sa ni da re sa ni da pa ma ga re sa da ga re sa ni da da sa ni da pa ma ga re sa ga re sa ni da re sa ni da pa ma ga re sa da. Instead of repeating the last line, what we can do is, we can either repeat the Pallavi first line or the Anupallavi first line. Only one of the lines has to be repeated. We cannot repeat all the lines, because if you repeat it, then it will become, we are in need of only one artham, one line of melody. But if you repeat the Pallavi once or twice, Pallavi twice and Anupallavi twice and Muktaiswaram twice, then it becomes 16. So that is not needed. So what we are going to render is, we are going to repeat the Muktaiswaram first line twice, because there is a clue to that, there is a change in that. Because I have highlighted the Karvai of the Muktaiswaram first line when we learned the Purvanga in the first lesson itself. We can obviously see it here when we render the Muktaiswaram line, first line twice. Okay, we will start from the Tisram of Pallavi. Sati ga ri ga ri ga ri sa sa ri sa ni da ga ri sa ni da sa ri pa ma ga ri sa da da ma ga ri sa da sa ri ma pa da ri sa ma pa da ni da ma ga ri sa da 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 pa ma pa da ri ma pa da ma ga ri sa ri sa ni da pa da pa ma pa da sa pada sa ri ga ri ga ri sa ni da ri sa ni da pa da ma ga ri sa sa ni da sa ri ga ri sa ga ri sa ni da pa da ri sa ga ri da sa ri ma pa ga sa ri. Now we have to give the Karvai as 4 when you repeat it, but when you are not repeating it and moving on to the second line, then the Karvai becomes 3. So we will start the Muktaiswaram from 2 after. Sa ri ga ri sa ga ri sa ni da pa da ri sa ga ri da sa ri ma pa ga sa ri ga ri sa ga ri sa ni da pa da ri sa ga ri da sa ri ma pa ga da da pa ma ri ma pa da sa ri sa pa ma da pa ni da ni pa da ma pa sa ri ma pa da ni da pa ma pa sa ni da pa da re sa ni da pa ma da pa ni da pa da sa re ga ri sa ga ri sa ni da sa ni da pa ma ga ri sa ga ri sa ni da re sa ni da pa ma ga ri sa da. Can you understand this? Can we move on to the Sahityam? So, as I said earlier, it is tradition only to render the Sahityam only for the sake of convenience and sake of understanding. We render the Swaram also in the Tisram. Now we are going back to the Muktaiswaram last line so that we can see the transition better. Okay. The Muktaiswaram last line of the Muktaiswaram is rendered in the Chatusram first beat. Da ga ri sa ni da sa ni da pa ma ga ri sa ga ri sa ni da ri sa ni da pa ma ga ri sa da sa tra su da nin me ko ri cha ma ru lu na Gari sani da padari sagari ga sani da sari ma pa sari gari sari sagari sani da padari sagari ga sani da sari ma pa da da pa mari ma pa da sari sa pa ma da pa ni da ni pa da ma pa sari ma pa da ni da pa ma pa sa ni da pa da re sa ni da pa ma da pa ni da pa da sa ri ga re da ga ri sa ni da da sa ni da pa ma ga ri sa ga ri sa ni da re sa ni da pa ma ga ri sa da sa da su. But after rendering the Tisram, it is a tradition to render the Chatusram second speed and go back to the Chatusram first speed. But the repetition of the line is dependent on the structure of the Varnam. Can you come up with any other Aditala Varnam which has a structure different from this one? That is Pallavi 2 lines, Anupallavi 2 lines, and Muktaiswaram we had 4 lines in Saveri. Can you come up with any other Mohana Varnam? All the students learn the Mohana Varnam first. If you count the avartams of the Purvangam, that is Pallavi has 2 lines, Anupallavi has 2 lines, and Muktaiswaram has 2 lines. So there is no question of repetition when you render the Tisram. Okay? Do you know that Varnam? Can we render that to show the difference? Okay? Ninnu koriyuna nurani Now, if you render the Tisram, it will be ending along with the Talam even when you render it only once, because you have 2 lines of Pallavi, 2 lines of Anupallavi, and 2 lines of Muktaiswaram, which makes it 6. Ninnu koriyuna nurani Nayakanannu limpa samayamurana vita kripajudara gari gari sadi sadi sagari ga sadi sada sadi gari ga pa da pa ga pa da sadi gari ga sadi da sa pa da sadi ga sa da pa gari sadi ninnu kori. After the Tisram, we go to the Chatusram second speed. So the repetition of line is dependent on the structure of the Varnam. So a student who is venturing on doing the different gati, first calculate the number of avartams of each section, and whichever section you are going to render it as a whole. For example, in the Purvangam, we render it as a whole and we don't repeat the Pallavi, we don't repeat the Anupallavi, we don't repeat the Muktaiswaram. So, it is not mandatory for the student to render the Pallavi, that is one line of Pallavi, because some people say that each section should start from fresh avartam. It is not needed in case of the gati change. We can render it continuously. That is Satra Sudaninne Kori Satra Sudaninne Kori Chala Marulu Nadira. It is not mandatory that each section should end along with the talam. When you render the section as a whole, it has to end along with the talam. So in this case, the Purvangam as a section is taken into consideration and not the individual Pallavi, Anupallavi or Muktaiswaram. So in case of 8 avartams as we have in the Raga Saveri, Varnam, what we are doing is, we are either repeating a first line of Pallavi or first line of Anupallavi or first line of Muktaiswaram. And if you want to repeat the second line of Muktaiswaram also, it is possible, because there also when you move forward, it has no karvai, but when you are rendering the second line alone, you have to render it with 3 karvai. That is Sari Gari Sari Sagari Sani Da Padari Sagari Gasari Da Sari Ma Pa Da Da Pa Mari Ma Pa Da Sari Sa Pa Ma Da Ni Da Ni Pa Da Ma Pa Sari Ma Pa Da Ni Da 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 Pa Mari Ma Pa Da. So when you repeat the second line, you are reducing the karvai there. When you repeated the first line, you are extending the karvai. But in case of, if you want to repeat the second line, then for repetition you are reducing the karvai, and for continuation you are retaining the karvai of 4. So these should be remembered. And after 4, and there is also a problem of dragging the speed, but we should remember that when there is a 1, 2, 3, 4, then when you are rendering 6, it should not be dragged and it should be progressive in speed, because there is a tendency here, Sari Gari Gari. Some students have the tendency to drag the Sari Gari Gari Ri Gari Ri Sa Sari Sa Ni Da. Here we have to give a comparison of people sitting on a bench. When there are 4 people, there is space. When there are 6 people, the space reduces. Likewise, when there are 6 swaras per beat, the speed increases. Okay, there should be a progression in the speed and not a dragging of speed. It should not be lower, and it should not be same as the Chatusram also. These things have to be remembered when you are doing the change in gati or change in speed. Okay, in the next lesson, let us learn how to render the second speed of Tisram for the Purvangam of this Varnam. Thank you.